Welcome back. I'm Devin, and you're watching Hoops and Hops on Buffet Sports.
Uh, yeah. Okay, good morning, afternoon, and evening. It's the guy you should believe in. Dropping heat like every season. Underdog like Willie Beeman. Classic like Dom singing. Blasting like bombs ringing.
Okay, pretty clear-cut agenda. We're going to talk about the Pacers and then the Pacers-Knicks game 7 and then the Timberwolves-Nuggets game 7. It's going to be pretty straightforward here. Those were the two games, big games from the weekend. So we'll start with the Knicks Pacers series. Jalen Brunson broke his hand. I think I could stop there, and that would pretty much sum up the entirety of the Knicks playoff run because it was just injury after injury after injury. And it was this guy's going to step up for 40 minutes a night. Now this guy's going to step up, and there's just the well runs out. OG Anunoby tried to give it a go in the first 5 minutes, and it just didn't look right. And he was unable to continue. So it was short lived, valiant effort, but ultimately didn't really help the team. Knicks were obviously down most of the game. The pivotal moment for me where I was like, okay, this is done was the 5 second violation after an out of bounds or on an out of bounds play after a timeout. That was the end of the game to me because it was the first time you really saw the fatigue affect them mentally, where they just didn't execute. Brunson was halfway up the court. Everyone was covered, wasn't paying attention. Clear lane to just come get the ball. It wasn't like they were playing stellar lockdown defense. The two guys on the baseline were, cuffed up, but Brunson had a free run at the ball and he just didn't look like he wanted to. And that's not to say that he shouldn't. I mean, he's playing 45 minutes a game. He's tired. I get it. But that was the first time in the series where it was like, oh, this is affecting them. Like they don't have enough in the tank. That was at 5:33 in the third quarter. And yeah, that just felt like the end of the game to me. That felt like it was over from there. And the Knicks just didn't really recover after that point, and the Pacers just ran with it, which I can't lie, pissed me off watching. I don't like the Pacers. They just seem like Rick Carlisle's turned into such a whiner, and the rest of the team just feels soft. I have this odd like hatred for Andrew Nimhard. Every time I watch him, I'm like, you're annoying. TJ McConnell, I'm just like, okay, that's him. Like that's the kind of player he has to be, the white Pat Bev, to be in the league. Andrew Nimhard to me just he looks lost 90% of the time. Like the kid who just doesn't run out of energy and just chases you around the whole game and is just annoying. That's Andrew Nimhard, which he does his job extremely well. I have to give him that, but it is I don't like watching him play basketball. Really the only other part to this is Tyrese Halliburton had 26 points in the game, but it felt like 40, it felt like 35-40, which when you start to see that, it's to me when they're hitting big shots, when players are hitting big shots and they're, timely buckets, important shots. That's when, even when you have 26, which isn't, anything to turn your nose up at, but it feels bigger. That's why when Brunson goes off for 30, 40 every playoff game, we feel like it's 50 or 60. We feel like he walked off the court like Wilt, you know. He shot 6 of 12 from the 3-point line, but only 6 assists, which I thought he was supposed to be this big assist guy. I'll get you a layup, which obviously I know schemes change in the playoffs and teams play you differently and force you into being a scorer, take the ball out of your hands. But to that point, I feel like he has the ball taken out of his hands too easily. The ball is forced out of his hands too often. And obviously you got to play to win, but there's going to have to be big shot making against the Celtics. You're not going to get away with not having the ball in your hand in down the stretch. Um, so something to look out for there. The big takeaway here, can the Knicks get Mikal Bridges in the offseason? Because I think for the fun of it, to see the Villanova, the Villanova, the Villanova, what would we call it? Not triplets. It would be quad. I don't know. The four Villanova guys, Hart, Brunson, DiVincenzo, and the Mikal Bridges. Would with Hartenstein, I'm so interested to see what that looks like. I think packaging Randall with a picks to the Nets would get that done easily. It's just a question of are they willing to do it? But I'd be really interested. It adds another wing. And then there's OG Anunoby too, where you could have Hart coming off the bench. It's just playoffs. They would be so interesting. A better version of kind of building the same thing that the Clippers did almost, where they've got a bunch of wings, but they're all older and obviously injury prone. Um, I think it could be really deadly in the playoffs, and they're to me a Mikal Bridges away from a finals trip. The fun one, Wolves Nuggets. Oh boy, this was a great game. This was a fantastic game. I picked the Wolves in this series. They obviously didn't get it done in six, but they got it done in seven. They're heading to the NBA or the conference finals, not quite the finals yet, but that kind of tells you where I'm at with that. But we'll talk about that later in the week after game one. I was just kind of waiting for the Wolves to burst, like to have that burst that they always do. Waiting the whole game. They're down, but they never felt out. And then this is when it happened for me. Um, it was, I believe, the third quarter. It was either the end of this middle of the second, third quarter. I think it was the second quarter. Here's the run. They're showing signs of life here. This was between 9:16 and 5:48, about 3 minutes game turned. McDaniels hit a three, and then Cat went 2 for 2 for free throws. Anthony Edwards had a two. McDaniels had another three, and then Conley had a big three. Goes from 43-58 to 53-59. 3 minutes. The Nuggets only score 1 point. It was on a Jokic free throw, I believe. But it was just all Wolves in those 3 minutes. And that's where I was like, oh, this is a game now. This is a game. And it showed to me the altitude, the Denver thing, like it didn't matter. It showed me like, oh, the Wolves can go whenever they want. Um, they just have to do it the whole game. And at the end of the day, you get the job done. But against Dallas, you have to go the whole game. Um, Anthony Edwards at the end of the third quarter, he ends it with a dunk and a 3-pointer. And it was like, uh-oh, he woke up. Ant woke up. We've got ourselves a game now. We've got ourselves a game. So heading into the fourth quarter, Cat picks up that fifth foul, which forced Nas Reed into the game. And Nas is one of those guys that if you if you were a casual and you turned on an NBA game and you saw one of his 6 minute stretches where he just plays great defense, dominates the game, you'd be like, that's one of the best players in the league, right? But he's the sixth man of the year. There was a three from Mike Conley about 9:26 in the fourth quarter. It made it 75-72 in favor of the Wolves. That felt huge to me. Huge. And then there was the Rudy stretch. And this was the dagger. When you have the Rudy stretch and they turn to, okay, we're just going to put Rudy at the line because the Wolves were in the bonus at like 8 minutes in the fourth quarter. They were in the bonus. This Rudy stretch, he puts in 6 points in just over 2 minutes, hits 4 free throws, and then the step back. And that'll take the life out of you. If Rudy hits a step back fader, that'll take the life out of any team. I don't care who you are. Lakers, Celtics, it doesn't matter who you are. If Rudy hits a step back, you know it's over. You know the game's over. And it was the dagger to me that it was just like, okay, this game's done now. It's done. The Conley three felt like, okay, this is for real. And then the 2 minute Rudy stretch was like, okay, it's done. Now it's just play the fouls, be smart, knock down your free throws. Takeaways from the Wolves Nuggets game at the end of it. Nas needs more minutes, especially against the Mavericks. They're smaller and they've got to cover up PJ Washington, and Cat cannot take that assignment. They're going to be able to dominate them in terms of size and physicality for sure. The Wolves are so much more physical than the Mavs, but Nas has to play to cover up PJ, to not allow him to have those kind of games that he had against the Thunder, where he had 20, 27, and he was just shooting the lights out of the gym from 3 point in the corner. Nas is just too big, too strong, and equally as fast as PJ, and that to me is going to be the big factor. We'll see what we get from Kyrie, but Ant or Cat, I guess, will cover up for Doncic, and then we'll see what we get from Kyrie, and it's going to come down to the third guy, and who's the third guy? It's PJ Washington. So the Nas Reed, PJ Washington, or Nas Reed or PJ Washington, Jaden McDaniels matchup, that's where the series to me is going to be who has the better game to win that. I still think the Wolves pulled this out, but that's going to be a super important matchup. As JJ Redick would say, it's going to be a battle of the Alfreds in this series because we know what Luka is. He's banged up. That's going to play an impact. What will Kyrie give us? We don't know, but it's going to come down to PJ versus either Nas Reed or Jaden McDaniels. Everyone's saying Cat played great. I don't see it. 8 for 14 from the field, 1 for 6 from 3, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 23 points, but 5 fouls. Playing great the whole game and then picks up the 5th foul. And I think there was a collective eye roll from every person rooting for the Timberwolves of like, oh, here we go again. The 5th foul, Cat, come on. But it forced Nas Reed in the game, which ended up, being a huge factor covering up Aaron Gordon for those final 5-6 minutes of the game. But man, Cat, like I still am not a believer in Cat. I still think it's a wise move to move off of him in the offseason, but he played great in game 7. Who really played great to me was Jaden McDaniels. This guy, 7 for 10 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 23 points. But no one's talking about it. He hit huge threes. We talked about the run in the third quarter where he had 2 threes to go from 43-58 to 53-59. He played huge. He played huge in this game. His defense, he's all, I have to look if he was on the all defensive team. I'm sure he was, but I mean, this guy's one of the best two-way players, 3-and-D guys that you can ask for. He showed up huge. He's going to be a big factor in this Mavs series. And Mike Conley, man, just such a calming presence, hitting big shots, controlling the pace, being that guy that's just like, all right, everyone calm down. And honestly, taking a lot of the grenades at the end of shot clocks and just hitting threes that you feel like, where's Mike? Oh, 3. Okay, we're good. We're good. Everything's fine. Mike is huge for this team. And then the post-game press conference with Ant and Cat was one of the fruitiest things I've ever seen in my life. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Cat is one of the fruitiest men in the NBA. On the Denver side, Jokic, I'm sure, is lit to go home and go watch his horses race. Jamal, to me, though, this was the one that was more important to me. This series, he just seemed like a crybaby. We all know about the hot pack. I think it was in game 3. He should have been suspended for that game. I think that would have been a huge point of conversation if the Wolves did end up losing the series. They obviously won, but I still think that Jamal Murray should have been suspended for that, at least for a game. And he just seemed like a crybaby. And then in the post-game press conference, again, kind of just kind of crybaby, like woe is me the whole time, instead of just owning up to, yeah, I had 35, but I got shut down in the second half. And I don't know what it is, but Jamal just rubbed me the wrong way. Pause in this series. The last one, this is an off-season piece that they're going to have to address. What are they going to do with Michael Porter Jr.? Because they can't. He's supposed to be that microwave third guy, who comes off the bench or not comes off the bench, but starts, but has these 2 minute stretches where he takes over a game and just shoots the lights out of the ball. And there is no Michael Porter swing. It's just catching fire. Um, Ended the game 3 for 12, 1 for 6 from three, 7 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Um, I don't know what you do with that. It's not necessarily his fault because you're not going to put the ball in his hands, but he's so inconsistent. You don't know what you're going to get from him. And I think you could get more by moving him for some bench pieces or a third scorer, and it would open up Aaron Gordon. We saw flashes of him um, being fantastic. Obviously, I think it was game 5 where he went 10 for 11 or 11 for 12, something like that. There's moments where Aaron Gordon gets completely unlocked and he's that third guy. And I think moving MPJ could unlock him fully, and let him be that third guy, that difference maker that's just a defensive stopper and an athletic freak. And yeah, I don't know what you do there, but I don't know if I don't think Michael Porter Jr. is the answer. I don't know if you trade him or if you just change his role or if you move him to the bench. And I don't know. I have no idea, but that's something they're going to have to address what to do with Michael Porter Jr. come the off season, which they're in now. But I think Aaron Gordon's got to be a bigger part of the offense, and MPJ's got to either take a back seat or get moved. So there it is. There was our game 7 kind of recap, talking about the games. Quick predictions, because the next video probably I won't film the next video probably till after games 1 and 2 of both series. We have Celtics Pacers and Wolves Mavs. I think I'm leaning Wolves in 6 games. I could see it being 5 if Luka gets dinged up in game 1 or 2 at all. Really, I could see that series ending earlier than we think. Especially if Kyrie has kind of 2 duds and then Doncic gets nicked up. I think it's going to be Wolves in 6 there, and Celtics Pacers. The Celtics are just going to be completely outclassed. The Celtics are kind of a mess sometimes and are lackadaisical, and they'll probably drop a game. It'll probably be 5, but they just have more firepower and they've got more ways to turn, which is a blessing and a curse. The question of will we see Porzingis? I'm not sure. Miles Turner is going to be a big factor in this series because he handled the Bucks well. He handled Hartenstein well. You're not going to have Porzingis probably for games 1 and 2, maybe 3. So he's going to be matched up against Al Horford, and he's just bigger. He's just bigger, and he stretches the floor farther than Al Horford. And he's younger, obviously. So he's going to be a huge factor in this series, I think. But at the end of the day, the Celtics just have more firepower. So Celtics in 5, Wolves in 6. We'll see what happens. Again, I'm Devin, and you're watching Hoops and Hops on Buffet Sports. If you want to see more of us, you can catch us on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at buffet.sports. We post every day, if not twice a day, long form and short form. The only time we're not having a long form video out is Thursday. We do a comment show every week, so leave your comments. Bring us some hate. Bring us some of your opinion. We love to hear it. Okay. Like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Ciao, guys.